routine in spring training baseball, it's kind of similar on a day-to-day basis. First, it starts with a little stretching before you get to some batting practice and some conditioning. Freddie Galvis has been very relaxed here during spring training baseball. We'll get a chance to see him later on today. And for the fans, they get a chance before the start of the ball game not only to see some batting practice, but also see some drills. Every single day, Pete Mackanin is doing drills. He did it today, worked on cutoffs before the Phillies got set to take on the Tampa Bay Rays. One thing that seems to be a positive going into spring training games this year is the Phillies rotation. At least at this point, the Phillies have a pretty good idea, barring any injuries, who they're going to put out there every day to start the 2017 season. And they've got some veterans in Jeremy Hellickson and Clay Buchholz, and then the young guns, Jared Eickhoff, Aaron Nola, and Vince Velasquez to piece together the starting five. Hi, everybody. I'm Tom McCarthy, along with Ben Davis. We'll hear from Greg Murphy in just a little bit. All right, so the Phillies starting staff last year probably had some questions because the guys were so young, but a lot of those youngsters are starting to grow up a little bit right before our eyes, including today's starter, Jared Eickhoff.
Jared Eickhoff has been so good for the Philadelphia Phillies after getting caught up from that trade with the Texas Rangers. Now, Jared Eickhoff, we know about the big overhand curveball. Is it his strikeout pitch? Absolutely is. But he's learning to complement that pitch with a good located fastball, a changeup that's come a long way, and a slider that really he's starting to throw to righties and lefties. He can backdoor it, he can back foot it. So that's another pitch that he's added to his arsenal. The breaking ball is key. Yes, 0-2, that is his go-to pitch, but it's just nice for a manager in Pete Mackanin and Bob McClure, the pitching coach, to know that they have a starter they can rely on every fifth day.
All right, when you look at some of the numbers he's put up in his year plus with the Phillies, I mean, including last year, I mean, what stands out, particularly in those 33 starts?
The 33 starts is great, yes, but you know me, Tom, I detest the walk. And you look at that third stat down, 1.92 walks per 9 innings pitched, fourth lowest among National League starters. That is really why he stays in ball games. He doesn't walk anybody. He is a strike thrower, and that is one thing that Pete Mackanin loves about Jared Eickhoff, and we had a chance to catch up with the skipper.
He's a real bulldog. You know, he's got a great professional manner about him. He's got the stuff to be successful, and he's proven that. For a guy that has been in the big leagues a little over 1 year, he's shown me a lot of poise as a starting pitcher. He doesn't get rattled. He's a workhorse. He should have pitched 200 innings. I think a couple of rain-shortened games didn't allow him to do that. But when you talk to him and you watch him work and you watch him compete, he's all business. He's very professional.
Well, pitching 200 innings is one of the goals that Jared Eickhoff has for the 2017 season. Today, he'll be opposed by Blake Snell of the Tampa Bay Rays. Snell is one of the big prospects for Tampa and should be in their starting rotation. Well, the Phillies have hit some long balls so far here in spring training. The other day, we saw Maikel Franco hit 2, 1 out, 1 in, and Rhys Hoskins, he blasted that one. Lineups at first pitch when we return. Phillies baseball is brought to you by Citizens Bank, official bank of the Phillies. Visit citizensbank.com. By Toyota. The Toyota Safety First President's Day sales event is on. Toyota, let's go places. By Xfinity. Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV. And by Independence Blue Cross. Live fearless. Learn more at IBX.com. Well, back here at Spectrum Field as we get ready for Game 2 here at this ballpark and Game 4 overall for the Phillies. The Phillies find themselves 2-1 so far in spring training games after their victory yesterday against the Blue Jays. Let's take a look at the Rays lineup brought to you by Xfinity. Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV. If you look at this lineup and wonder, well, who are the everyday guys for the Rays? Well, it's kind of the top 2 guys. They may not be everyday players, but they're probably going to be on the 25-man roster. Corey Dickerson and Nick Franklin. Franklin will alternate between second base and shortstop for the Tampa Bay Rays. And they'll face right-hander Jared Eickhoff. Eickhoff coming off a solid year last year at 11-14. Probably could have had a better win-loss record if he had better run support. The opposition hit .251 against him. And the thought is, Ben, is that he's going to get stronger as he progresses in his big league career.
Really, the sky's the limit for Jared Eickhoff. Love his stuff. Love his curveball. Take a look at the scouting report. 88-93. Curveball, yes, it's his out pitch, but the slider and change have come a long way. I think you're going to see him really work on that a lot more this spring training. And like Pete McKenna said, he is a bulldog. He's a workhorse. 6 innings pitched in 23 of his 33 starts last season.
So the first batter that he'll face is Corey Dickerson, who is DHing here this afternoon. It could possibly be the DH for the Tampa Bay Rays. All that depends on the health of some of the other players. And the first pitch of the day on a breezy afternoon is a fastball taken upstairs. So we're underway. Dickerson last year hit .245 with 24 home runs and 70 runs batted in for a Tampa team that finished 68-94. And now 3 balls and no strikes. Oddly, that's one of the things that Eickhoff did not do that often last year, was fall behind hitters. And you talked about it during the Open, just how effective he was within the strike zone.
Get ahead, stay ahead.
And ball 4. So he walks Dickerson on 4 pitches. Bob McClure, Pete McCadden. They've been pleased the first couple of days with the work of the starters that have gone 2 innings apiece. So Jeremy Hellickson today. He started yesterday's game against the Blue Jays, a game in which the Phillies won 10-3. Here's Nick Franklin playing second base today. Franklin hit .270 a season ago. That one's whacked through the hole on the right side, a base hit. And Dickerson's on his way to third. And he'll get there easily as the throw comes in from Saunders. So the Rays have runners on first and third to start things off. As Casey Gillespie will be the scheduled hitter.
Smart hitting by Franklin there. You know, Jared Eickhoff, once you get ahead, he just walked the leadoff hitter on 4 pitches. Go up there sitting dead red. And this one just right down the middle and elevated, and Franklin did the rest.
So now Casey Gillespie is the number 10 prospect in the Rays organization, according to MLB.com. He is a switch hitter. Swing and a miss. Threw something soft, a little slider. And it's no balls and 1 strike. Gillespie last year between 2 levels had 18 home runs and 64 runs batted in. Finished with 11 home runs in AA and 7 home runs in AAA. He's got a chance to be up with the big club at some point this year, and a lot of it depends again on injuries. Logan Morrison is slated to be the everyday first baseman. One ball, 1 strike. Well, it is safe to say that you do see this often in the early part of spring training. You know, the storyline sometimes changes depending on how good the pitcher is. But he's not out here just throwing fastballs.
Right now, it's more of an adrenaline rush for Jared Eickhoff.
That one's lined on one hop. They got the runner at first, and Hoskins will turn two. Dickerson scores. The Rays take a 1-0 lead, but the double play puts 2 outs on the board.
Ball hit hard, and you can see that 1 run in fourth game of spring training, especially in the first inning. Nice play by Hoskins. I would like to see Freddie be a little bit more aggressive with that tag at second base on Franklin.
I think that's what Nick Franklin was saying, that you may not have gotten me. Now, Hoskins did have a chance to come home, but it is the first inning, so you're trying to get the double play. Little tapper to the right side. And Bowers is up with it, and it turned out to be an easy last couple of batters for Jared Eickhoff. But the Rays do score a run. They do so with 1 hit and 1 walk. Phil's coming up, down 1-0 as we go to the bottom of the first. Of the first 3 games of spring training, his team is down by 1 as we go to the bottom of the first. Let's peek at his lineup, brought to you by Xfinity. Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV. Now, Pete's lineup is a little different than what you might expect for a home game, only because he's got Rhys Hoskins playing first base today, as we just saw. Hoskins helping to turn that double play, and Brian Holiday doing the catching, batting 8th, and Roman Quinn gets the start. He is in left field, batting 9th for the Phils. They will face left-hander Blake Snell. And Snell just wrapping up his warm-up tosses out on the mound. Came up to the big leagues last year. A 2-time minor league pitcher of the year for the Tampa Bay Rays. 3.54 earned run average. And you look at the walks that he issued last year. That is one of the issues that the Rays would like him to tinker with going into 2017.
And that'll come with maturity. He was the Rays' first-round pick 2011. He's a big, tall, lanky kid, 91 to 97, slider, curve, and the cutter. But he has a lot of promise, and Rays are hoping he's going to be their stud for years to come.
He made an appearance last year in spring training and pitched 4 2/3 innings before starting the year in the minor leagues. Facing Cesar Hernandez to lead it off. Cesar coming off a year in which he hit .294 for the Phillies. All right, so both pitchers are coming out with a little bit of an adrenaline rush.
And especially when you see pitchers missing high in the strike zone for balls. That's just adrenaline, and they're just amped. Why wouldn't they? You can't fault them for that.
On the outside corner, 2 balls and 1 strike. Cesar so far has been up 4 times in 2 games. He's 0 for 4. Does have 1 RBI. 3 balls and 1 strike. Team Buchanan's tinkered with the lineup a little bit today, with Odubel Herrera batting 2nd and Howie Kendrick batting 3rd. Fly ball to shallow right field. Peterson will call off Nick Franklin. 1 away. Well, it seems to be redundant here in Florida, but it's a beautiful day. The breeze is coming in or going from right to left. It didn't deter home run balls today during batting practice.
Oh, it didn't. This place was like an airport during batting practice.
84 degrees. I was actually on the adjacent half field on a phone conversation, and a ball landed in right field of the half field from one of the minor league fields. Hector Gomez hit one over the center field fence. I mean, again, it's batting practice, but it was startling. Here's Odubel Herrera. Herrera hitless in 3 at-bats. This is only his second game this spring. Up and in.
Yeah, this lineup is a little different than the birthday boy Matt Stairs left on your desk early this morning. Brian Holiday playing first and Freddie Galvis catching.
Just trying to break his new computer in. There's Matt, 49 today. And a liner out toward left field. Backing up on it is Bowers, and it's over his head and a one-hop off the wall. And Odubel will pull into second base with a one-out double.
Oh, you'd love to see that. Matt's got to love that. Going the other way, hitting balls hard. And this was just loud off the bat. Gets his foot down on time, finishes high. It's that good backspin out to left field. The wind is blowing out to left today. First thing I would always look at as a player, which way the wind was blowing. Well, that ball took off.
See the flags whipping. So Howie Kendrick is now up with a runner in scoring position. Kendrick 0 for 2 in the one game he's played. And he takes high, 1 ball and no strikes. Kendrick wound up playing 146 games last year for the Dodgers, hit .255. Back toward the middle, flag down, and now they've got Herrera caught between second and third. Snell ran at him and then eventually got his infielders involved. So Kendrick reaches on the fielder's choice. And Odubel is retired. 145. No, yep, 145.
Fans at home might say, how could he get picked off like that at second base? Well, first and foremost, this ball is a single up the middle. Snell makes a great play. Odubel's thinking, I'm going to score right here. Snell makes a fine play and doesn't get caught in that rundown long enough to get Kendrick to second base, which you'd like to see him do. But that was a really nice play by Snell.
Well, he basically caught the ball between his legs. And now Michael Saunders playing right field today. And it's no balls and 1 strike. Saunders 0 for 2. After hitting 24 home runs, 57 runs batted in. Hoping to build on what was an excellent first half last year and not a great offensive second half. In reality, though, with that Jays lineup that he was part of, he didn't need to have an overwhelming second half because they had guys that picked up the slack, but he went from 298 to 178 from the first half to the second half.
Just the 57 RBIs, and we were talking about that in the office today, just hitting 204 with runners in scoring position. So I'm sure that's a number that he would like to improve upon.
Off the hands, 1 and 2. Umpires for today's game. Nick Lentz is behind home plate. Eric Cooper is over at first base, and DJ Rayburn is around at third. Tom Hallion was added late to the umpiring crew, and I don't know where he is. He is not out there. That one's hit sharply, a base hit into right center field. Kendrick around second, he'll stop there. And the throw goes right over his tail, and that puts runners on first and second for Maikel Franco. So Maikel Franco is up. He's batting 5th today. Earlier today in the cage, Franco was in the same group as we mentioned with Howie Kendrick. Kendrick's off to the right. Cesar Hernandez is part of that group as well. And that's one of the goals that Matt Stairs had, was to put Howie, with Maikel Franco. And even a guy like Cesar Hernandez, just to talk a little of approach and just talk hitting.
Well, you have the lifetime success that Howie Kendrick has had. Why not try and learn from that? Makes all the sense in the world.
Speaking of Cesar Hernandez, Maikel, who had the inside the park home run the other day, referenced the fact that he was running like Cesar Hernandez after the game. And that's why he had that inside the park home run.
Even after stopping at second.
Even after stopping. How about the shift that the Rays have on for Maikel Franco? We might see that a little bit more this year until he shows that he can, pound the ball the other way.
If you start to get balls out in this direction right here, you're going to see a lot of hits from Maikel this season.
It's not a shock that teams are sort of playing this alignment for him. Kendrick goes, pitches spun over toward right field. It's going to drop in for a base hit. A run will score. Saunders goes to third, and the Phils have tied it up at 1.
Take that, ball. A hit is a hit is a hit. Take that any day of the week. The power hitter, power pitcher. Maikel won the best of that one. It's going to just stay inside it enough. Tuck those hands in, clear the hips, and bleed her over first baseman.
Yeah, and just be thankful that the first baseman was in a little bit. That'll bring Rhys Hoskins to the plate. Talked to Matt today about Rhys Hoskins and what he's liked so far during camp. Hoskins takes a strike. Rhys is a big guy. He's 6'4", 225 pounds, and Matt said for a guy his size, everything's quiet in the batter's box. A lot of times with bigger players, everything's a little quicker. That one's looped towards center field, and it's caught out of the air by Nick Franklin. So he got it off the end of the bat, and Franklin was able to track it down. The Phils tie it up. They leave a couple as we go to the second. It's a 1-1 game. Opening day is Friday, April 7th at Citizens Bank Park. That's for the Phillies home opener, and all fans will get the Phillies commemorative knit cap. It's all part of a 3-game series against the Washington Nationals. You can get tickets by going to Phillies.com. Go to the top of the second inning. Probably this is the last inning for Jared Eickhoff as Michael McHenry will lead things off. McHenry's bounced around. Rockies, Giants, Pittsburgh Pirates, Boston Red Sox. 2-0. All right, Ben, let me ask you about the first inning for Jared, where he was struggling a little bit with his command early on. As a catcher, are you saying anything in between innings to try to get him back for the second inning?
Just trying to have him calm down as much as possible. It's a long 5 months that you're off, and you're thinking about, you know, coming back to spring training, and it's hard to control that adrenaline at times. These guys are so excited to be back out on that field. There's nothing like coming back to spring training and playing that first game, and today it's Jared's first game.
McHenry's had 1 at-bat so far with the Rays. Ball's ripped down the left field line. It's going to go foul, and it's probably going to go off the roof, and it does, of the bullpen grill. He has hit some home runs here at Spectrum Field during spring training baseball.
That was a long foul one. I can hear Renee Latchman in the back of my mind. Didn't see out our bench coach. Ain't nothing but a strike, brother. He said it every time.
This is the first time he's out of baseball, Renee Latchman.
Is that right?
Yeah, 50 whatever years. You should call him. He's probably looking for something to do. Bouncer foul. Breaking ball and a strike 3 call. Well, that's something that Bob McClure is going to like to see, battling back from 3-0. And speaking of Bob, we asked him about Eickhoff and the rotation earlier this spring.
He looked like a veteran out there when he pitched, so that's hard to do. And in your second year, it's especially hard to do. Overall, I'm very proud of the fact that in our ballpark, it's a small ballpark, so you can't walk guys. And I think they let all of baseball, the starting staff, I think they let all of baseball in the least amount of walks. And that's important because when you can do that, because, you're going to give up your hits and this and that, but, if you're walking guys, the ball goes out of the ballpark, it's 3 runs. So I was real proud of how young they were with the ability to have the mental attitude to attack the strike zone and let your defense play.
That's one of the things that Pete talked about when we met with him last week. The same thing that Bob just discussed. Allowing your defense to make the plays behind you. And Bob, since he's gotten here, and every pitching coach I think says this, but Bob really has emphasized is pounding that strike zone, keeping the ball at the knees, and making sure that you're not giving the opposition some extra base runners.
Pitching to contact. Look what happened in the first inning. Leadoff man walks, he scores.
Daniel Robertson last year in the minor leagues, 5 home runs, 43 runs batted in. 2-2 pitch to him. I would have punched him out, Ben.
Yeah.
Back to the screen. Daniel Robertson back in 2012 was one of 2 shortstops taken with the first 2 picks of the Major League draft by the Oakland A's. He was the second of the 2. The first one was Addison Russell. The A's eventually traded Russell to the Cubs, and Robertson to the Rays for Ben Zobrist. The A's had those 2 picks early and decided to go with 2 shortstops. I guess their scouting was right on, though. I mean, Addison Russell played a big role in the Cubs winning the World Series last year. Robertson is considered a prospect. And he's down on strikes. Back-to-back strikeouts for Jared Eickhoff. 2 outs here in the second.
Little flinch, little buckle of the knees there on Robertson. Just gave up on it.
Yeah, ran back.
Yeah. It was weird to see him flinch like that.
Here's Patrick Leonard, who's playing third base today and has no shot at playing third base this year for the Rays. That's because Evan Longoria will be the everyday third baseman as usual. Longoria has been a little under the weather. He's scheduled to play tomorrow for Tampa. 2 balls and no strikes. Fly ball center field. Herrera shading his eyes. And that second inning was a whole lot easier for Jared Eickhoff than the first. Phillies and the Rays tied at 1. And the Sixers host Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, and the team with the best record in the NBA, the Golden State Warriors. Sixers versus Warriors. Coverage begins at 6:30 over on CSN. Warriors, the first team again to clinch a playoff spot in the NBA. We'll move to the bottom of the second inning. Freddie Galvis will lead things off. Galvis batting 7th. The first pitch is over for a strike. 0-1. Freddie was scheduled to leave for the World Baseball Classic. As Eric Cooper says, he went around. But played winter ball after playing a full season last year and just decided, you know what, there's too much going on. So he's decided to stay with the club. I think his team's going to be okay, though.
Yeah.
He goes after a high fastball. First strikeout for Blake Snell. And 1 out here in the second. Brian Holiday is coming up.
It's a high fastball here. Kennery wants it up. Snell gets it there, and Freddie goes chasing.
So the veteran Brian Holiday, 231 a season ago, trying to make the club. Phillies have 2 veteran catchers in camp, Brian Holiday and Ryan Hannigan. Holiday last year split his time between the Rangers and the Red Sox. And you saw his numbers, 231 with a couple home runs, 14 runs batted in. I think when he was with the Tigers, I think the anticipation was that he would, along with the catchers that they had at the time, whether it be Avila, would be getting more time. He had 62 games one season. Back in 2014, he had 231, did not hit any homers. And then James McCann kind of took over as the backup to Avila, and then eventually, won the everyday job as Luis Garcia starts to fire in the bullpen.
He's always been a very good catch and throw guy.
Breaking ball, 2-2.
A big curveball and a good take there by Holiday.
Blake Snell is listed at 6'4", 180 pounds. He looks like he's a little bigger than that as far as weight goes. But he's a guy that we mentioned they're trying to work on his commands. So A, he's not throwing as many pitches, but also he's not walking batters. He started out 2015 before Kevin Cash saw him in a Rays uniform with 46 consecutive innings without allowing a run. Will pop up out toward shallow right. So he started the season with 46 scoreless innings. And he said, honestly, the game I gave up a run, I thought it was the best game I pitched.
You do that at any level. I don't care if it's rookie ball or the big leagues. That's doing some pitching right there.
Well, he wound up winning 15 games that year as Roman Quinn takes up an in 1-0. Roman got a chance to play yesterday against the Jays, the game the Phillies won. Bouncer to shortstop, and it's kicked. And Roman Quinn is going to be safe at first. Even if Daniel Robertson had made that play, I don't know if he would have thrown Roman Quinn out at first base.
Whenever he hits the ball, all I do, I don't care where it goes. I just watch him run. He's at full speed by the time he gets in the left-hander's batter's box. He is. It's amazing. It's going to be a tough one there. But watch, he hits it and then bam, he's gone. I wonder what that feels like. Seriously.
To have that speed?
Like, what does that feel like?
I don't know. Out to right field. Shane Peterson will glide under it. Phillies no runs, no hits. It was an error charged to the shortstop, Daniel Robertson. They leave one. On to the third.
Dear fellow citizen,
To be a rough first inning for Jared Eickhoff, but he only threw 10 pitches in that inning. He finishes with 2 innings overall and 1 run allowed. His command got better as the day went on.
I like the way he bounced back. A couple breaking balls there, caught looking to McHenry, and then Robertson, a comebacker here with a 2-seamer. He really able to bounce back and really a good productive start for his first outing of spring training. He's down with my roommate, Greg Murphy.
Yeah, that's right, Ben. We'll talk about that. But yeah, here with Jared Eickhoff, and the guys were just talking about a very productive 2 innings, and you and I were just talking a little bit about getting off to a little slow start. You walked the first batter, and I said, was it adrenaline? Is it rust? And you said, well, a combination, right?
Yeah, combination. It's a little frustrating. You want to be as crisp as you can out there, but obviously it's hard going 3-4 months without the crowd and just the guy in the box. So I was okay with how everything went, but yeah, the adrenaline kicked in a little bit.
There's nothing wrong with being excited to get back out there. And for you coming into this camp, I have to believe that the excitement level is maybe even just a little bit higher than in years past. Knowing what's ahead of you, what you were able to do last year, is that a fair statement that you're really looking forward to this?
I think so. And the biggest thing is coming in and ready to go, getting ready in the off season and putting in the work. And it doesn't come easy, and it doesn't come just by showing up. So I was really anxious to get back here, get back to work, and getting back on the mound was very important and the right step.
There's always interesting to try and figure out where the balance is between getting your work in and also being as effective as you can in front of the fans, in front of the coaches. When do you decide which way you're going to go on that balance?
It's an interesting balance because some of the hitters, they swing early and they don't see as many pitches as they would in the season. So you kind of, it's funny how it works. Kind of depends on game to game, hitter to hitter sometimes, but you try to pitch your game, you kind of adjust accordingly, and I think I was able to do that, the second inning there.
Not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but how much are you looking forward to getting, again, back up to Philadelphia and play another season in the big leagues and build on what you were able to do last year?
I'm very excited. I'm looking forward to it, and it starts right here, right now. I'm very focused right now on trying to execute pitches, and I'm gonna try to do a little better job here coming out next outing.
Busy off season for you. You got married in the off season. Congratulations. Yeah, that had to be nice, and now you're settling back into the new life.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, it was a great time. I'm glad had a good party, good celebration, and Morgan's happy and I'm happy, so we're in good shape.
There you go, Jared. Good to see you as always, guys. We'll send it back up to you.
All right, Murph. Thank you. We appreciate that. Luis Garcia pitching for the Phils. Dairon Verona is the batter. Garcia last year was 1-1 with a 6.46 ERA. Command was the biggest issue for Luis Garcia. 3 balls and 1 strike to Verona, playing center field today for the Rays. Well, that's the kind of pitch that you look at with Garcia and think, oof, because there's so much movement to it.
Especially 3-1. Verona's up there dead red, and to have that ugly a swing at a 3-1 pitch, he's got the stuff.
Drew Anderson warming up in the pen. Broken bat, looper out to right, and that'll drop for a base hit. Verona's aboard. Ryan Garten is loosening for the Tampa Bay Rays. He is a local kid from Newport Richey. So now Corey Dickerson, who walked his first time up and scored the run for Tampa. Well, you did both though. You caught and you pitched. I mean, it's not like, I mean, it's not the easiest thing to do sometimes.
No.
Did you have a better understanding of it when you pitched than when you caught?
Well, that was just for the 1 year, but I knew if I made a good pitch, the guy was going to be out. Bottom line. But it's hard when you catch a guy like this. It is not easy. The ball's sinking, cutting. I asked him last year. He struck out somebody out on a 97-mile-an-hour. It was a cutter. I said, "Did you intentionally cut that?" He goes, "I don't know." He goes, "I just threw it."
Well, now first and second, and it'll be bring Casey Gillespie to the plate. Gillespie first time up, hit one sharply into a double play. Casey's brother Corey, or Connor I should say, has played in the big leagues. Roman Quinn venturing back toward the track, reaching out, and it's off his glove and then off the wall. 2 runs will score, and the Rays will take the lead. It's a 3-1 ball game.
Now Roman had a chance to get to it. Does get to it, just ricochets off his glove, giving Gillespie a double and 2-run scoring. But again, this ball, in my opinion, needs to be caught, especially when you have the wheels of Roman Quinn. You know the wind's blowing out to left field. And if you get your glove on it like that, the ball should be caught. Is it an easy play? By no means is that an easy play. But
yeah, but for somebody like Roman, who is an above-average defender, and with his speed, there's Jake Bauers, who grounded out his first time up. Takes low and in, 1 ball, no strikes. Well, it has been scored a double and 2 RBIs. Two balls and no strikes. Three runs now on 3 hits for the Rays, and a run on 4 hits for the Phillies. .95 on the outside part of the plate. Little looper down the left field line. That's foul. I'm going to 1-hop into the stands. Bauers just 21 years old. Last year he played in Double-A at .274 with 14 home runs and 78 runs batted in for Tampa. And he's batting with a runner at second base. Ground ball to second base as he shatters his bat. That'll do it for the Rays, but they score 2 runs on a misplayed double off the bat of Casey Gillespie. On to the bottom of the 3rd. It's 3-1. Tampa on top. go wrong when you buy right. Last of the third, Phillies trail it 3-1 as Ryan Garten will take over for the Tampa Bay Rays as they have taken a 2-run lead. Garten, who resides in Trinity, Florida, born here in Clearwater. 34th round selection in 2012. Last year pitched in 37 games for the Rays. Out of the bullpen, 1-2 with an ERA of 4.35. Made his major league debut at home and actually closed out a game. And in that game, he had a chance to face a guy like Mike Trout to get the save. So he will face Odubel Herrera, Howie Kendrick, and Michael Saunders as we go to the bottom half of the third inning. Now you see Blake Snell, who pitched here today. This is what they expect to be the rest of the rotation. Now you can throw Jose De Leon in there as well. He's the #2 prospect for the Rays, who they got from the Los Angeles Dodgers. They'll give him a look, but most likely he'll start in the minor leagues. But this is the way it should set up with Archer anchoring the staff. Alex Cobb, they're hoping that he bounces back and it gives them a little bit of a boost.
It all starts with Archer, though. Really disappointing season last year.
Balls and 1 strike to Herrera. Herrera doubled. And there's a strike, and it's 0-2. He thought that was high. Take a peek.
Below the letters.
That one's high, and it's 1 ball and 2 strikes. Odubel tossing his sunglasses aside. The sun went behind a cloud as that pitch came in. Phillies will lose Odubel over the next couple of days. As Herrera is down on strikes. And there's 1 away here in the third.
That's a big curveball there.
Sure was.
12-6er. Especially when he throws that right after he throws the high fastball. So your eye level is already there. And then he throws this curveball. It comes out of the same slot, and then it just disappears. Smart pitching.
So Howie Kendrick, who reached on a fielder's choice his first time up, and he takes a strike. It's 0-1. We started talking about this the other day with Howie Kendrick. You know, Pete has opened the lines of communication with Howie, and they've talked about what his role will be this year. And essentially, he's told him that you can expect to play 140 or so games, but right now, you can expect those games to be in left field. Now, if it's an extra inning game and they need to shift guys around, he may move them over to second base or over to third base.
Or even first.
Or even first base. But Pete said, I will let you know where you're going to be if there's a change. He said, if we have an injury, that's the good thing about Howie Kendrick, is that there is versatility and we can move him to one of the infield positions. He said Howie the other day, without him even prompting anything, took ground balls at second, took ground balls at first, and took ground balls at third. A high bouncer out to shortstop. Well, brand new item for 2017 is the Phillies cell phone wallet, free to fans 15 and older. It's going to be given out on Wednesday, April 12th for the Phillies Mets game. You can get your tickets now by going to Phillies.com.
Been helpful for me today, so
would have been very helpful for you.
We're gonna have to borrow money from
Diego, Teggy,
yourself,
myself. Murph, did Ben borrow any money from you at all today?
He hasn't borrowed any from me yet today. Although I think yesterday, most of the day.
Come on, Ruby.
I'm his landlord right now, so.
Take it off his security deposit.
I might have to.
2 balls and no strikes.
I got about halfway here this morning. I said, you know what? I don't have my wallet.
It's a day of forgetfulness for Ben. Walked up to the booth today getting ready for the Open and did not have the shirt on.
I had a shirt on, just not the one we're wearing now.
Unfortunately, I did not have the one that you wore. Two and one to Saunders. Saunders singled his first time up. Off the mound, but played perfectly by Robertson. 1, 2, 3 go the Phillies here at the bottom of the third. We're a third of the way through here at Spectrum Field. Phillies and their fans are hoping for a little offense, down by 2 as we go to the 4th.
That's 119, row 3, seat.
At Bat app. Stay connected all spring with radio broadcasts, video highlights, stats, news, and more. Download MLB.com at Bat today. It's your #1 app for live baseball. Top of the 4th inning. Bright blue skies. And the Fanatic is in rare form. Fanatic was working on his hot dog shooter today, because I believe at one point today he's going to be firing some dogs into the crowd, and he said, he was talking about trying to make sure that they stayed in the crowd.
Definitely get one over the roof here.
The friend of the Fanatic, Tom Burgoyne, said that the Fanatic could probably get one on Route 19 from here if he calibrated it properly.
That would be frowned upon.
Well, here's Drew Anderson, who last year pitched in 15 games in the minor leagues and has opened up some big-time eyes in the Phillies front office over the last year or so. I mean, even before that, but he's a guy that had Tommy John surgery. Former 21st round pick in 2012. He's only 22 years old, and he can fire. And the first pitch is up high. It's 1-0. Phillies put him on the 40-man roster this year. And the reason they put him on the 40-man roster is partly because he has topped off at 97, 98 miles an hour and sits as a starting pitcher 94, 95. And they feel like he has some electric stuff. Outside, and it's 3-0.
Very simple windup. No wasted motion. Easy cheese.
Well, this has got to feel pretty good for him to be out there. It's kind of interesting story as he delivers a strike to Michael McHenry you know, he was out with Tommy John surgery, but before that, he tried to rehab it and not have the surgery. So while he was going through the rehab and then eventually had the surgery, he could do everything. As everybody knows you can't do anything with your arms with Tommy John surgery, but he would work on his legs, and he said he would just lift with his legs. And you know, he lives in Nevada, so he would hike the trails of Lake Tahoe, and he said that would get his legs stronger and stronger. As Roman Quinn makes the catch. And one out here in the 4th inning.
Well, it just makes sense. The stronger your legs can get, the less wear and tear you're going to put in your arm. Biggest muscles you have are in your lower half.
And Joe Jordan has said that some of the folks feel like he's, with all the Phillies pitching prospects that they have, all the good solid prospects they have, he could wind up being the best one. It is because of the life on his fastball.
Nice hook there.
Fastball low.
Fastball does look to have a little cut on it. Late cut.
Over toward third. That's a foul ball. And it's 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Larry was doing that today, hitting ground balls to Mike Hill at third base. I'm always amazed at how hard, like the last so many, Larry rifles them to the third baseman. Rifles them. The hot corner.
Another fly ball. This one left center field. Odubel Herrera and Roman Quinn. Odubel makes the call. 2 outs. And now Patrick Leonard will be the hitter. All right, so Larry Boa just yelled something out to Brian Holiday, and you wonder if they may ask Anderson to throw something else.
He asked him what pitch it was.
Oh, he did? Okay.
Yeah. So was that a breaking ball? Brian said yes.
One came in at 93 miles an hour. I think this is the part of spring training that fans get excited about. I know I do. When you read so much about a player and about his potential, and although it's just spring training, it's the first time you get a chance to actually see him on the field. And we've heard so much about all of the Phillies prospects and have had a chance to see a lot of the young kids already these last couple of days, whether it be Hoskins or Cousins or Ben Lively, people like that. But you get a chance to see this kid now 100% healthy. When you see that fastball and that placement, and it opens up your eyes. And he retires the Rays in order here in the top of the 4th inning. So 2 flyouts and a strikeout. Drew Anderson may get 1 more inning. We'll see. We'll head to the bottom of the 4th.
So let's turn it over to
Today's sales event is on. Toyota, let's go places. And by Xfinity. Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV. Tiki Bar is in full form. You know, they've put the netting out there again this year. Obviously, it's for safety precautions, but that is still one of the more popular places that you will venture to before, during, and after a game here at Spectrum Field.
Tiki Bar was getting pelted during batting practice today.
It's opened after. It stays open after each game. There's usually live music that plays there. It's a fun place. I know we've said that over and over again, and we're here each and every year, so it's, you know, it's easy for us to say, come on down. But it really is a great place to come and, you know, spend a few days. I can't say you're getting out of the cold weather up in the Delaware Valley because it hasn't been frigid, but it is a special place. 71st year of minor league baseball for the Phillies and the Clearwater, city of Clearwater. 1 ball, 1 strike to Michael Franco. Franco singled his first time up and drove in a run.
Good swings early on here by Michael.
Like that one. Wow, that ball is crushed. Look out. Off the back of the Phillies bullpen, his 3rd home run of the spring.
Right on cue. I mean, that swing right there, there's nothing hard about it. That was a tight swing, short swing. To it and through it. Good extension. Boy, that's a good pitch to hit there. Michael knows it. Gets his foot down early. Transfers his weight off the back facade.
And nice grab.
Well done. Ball's probably got a smiley face in it after hitting that facade in the back.
Seriously. Oh, nice job, that youngster. Looks like he may be down from the Delaware Valley. That is a towering fly ball to left field. Bowers is under it. Yeah, and 1 out. Mike Calwin, you know, we talked to him this past offseason. He knew what, you know, folks were telling him at the end of the year. Pete McCannon basically said, I need more discipline. I think you could be a 30-100 guy, if not more. He trimmed down. He said he felt like he needed to do that. Played a little winter ball. Didn't play a lot of winter ball, but played a little winter ball. As Freddie Galvis takes outside, it's 1-0.
I just hope he gets to that point where he can realize it. His swing doesn't have to be any harder than that. The result was great. Yes, it's a home run. Line drive, home run. But the way he got to that ball was short and quick, but yet still powerful. No need to overswing.
1 ball, 1 strike to Galvis. Up high, 2-1. Ryan Garten in his 2nd inning of relief for the Tampa Bay Rays. Soft ground ball. 2 outs. It was Brian Holiday, but Kevin Cash is coming out. That may be it for Garten. He may reach a pitch count. And there is the signal to the pen. It looks like it's going to be Stanek who will come in. He was warming up before Diego Marino. And a lot of times teams bring extra pitchers in case a pitcher can't get through an inning. So that seems to be the case here in Clearwater. Arms on Matt. Matt's talking to Maikel Franco after a home run, and Matt had his pencil. Matt's always got a pencil, and he was tapping the bill of Franco's hat. There it is. There's a little tap. They're doing a little teaching right there, our buddy Matt Stairs. One thing Matt has always been good at is communicating. And he was that way when he was a player, and obviously he was our buddy up here in the booth too. But that was a pretty cool shot.
We talked about it the other day. It's one thing to have all the knowledge in the world, but if you can't convey that knowledge, it does you no good. Matt can do that.
Ryan Holiday, the batter. Ryan Stanek delivers high. It's 1 ball and no strikes. Holiday popped up to second his first time, and it's 1-1.
'97 on February 27th.
Benny's been throwing for 2 months. 2-2. 4-10 with a 4.30 ERA. And a strike 3 call. So he makes easy work of Brian Holiday. But the Phillies do get a run back. They do so on Maikel Franco's 3rd home run of the spring. That's a bomb to left field. 3-2, Rays on top as we go to the 5th. Groups of 25 or more. There's some group opportunities for you at Citizens Bank Park here in 2017. Take advantage of special opportunities including discounts, theme nights, and party areas. Plenty of benefits and special options. Special fundraising opportunities as well. It's a great way to raise funds and awareness. For more information, go to Phillies.com/group tickets. The youngsters enjoying a day at the ballpark, along with one of his superheroes and his dad. Drew Anderson beginning his 2nd inning of relief work facing Shane Peterson. He retired the side in order in the 4th inning.
That's the way I feel when I come to work with you, Tom. Superhero.
Spider-Man. 1 ball and 1 strike. The ball is ripped down the right field line. That'll be in for an extra base hit. And Peterson will stop at second. So leadoff double. Let's check in with Greg Murphy. Murph, what's going on? Do you have the time, by the way, Murph?
I always have the time for you, Tom. Absolutely. And, you know, here we are starting another spring training down here in Clearwater. And here we are once again talking about that issue that seems to be dogging baseball. That is pace of play. Lots of conversation about pace of play over the last couple of years. And, well, you know, the numbers last season seem to go a bit backwards if you're looking to try and speed up the games. Take a look in 2015, 2 hours and 53 minutes for an average Phillies game, 2:59 last season. All around Major League Baseball, about 4.5 minutes longer games across all of baseball last year as well, close to that 3-hour mark across Major League Baseball, the average for a 9-hour game. So the questions and the conversations continue. How do you shorten the game or help shorten the game and improve the pace of play without harming the game? And that's really the question that they're trying to answer, both at the commissioner's office and, of course, the players union as well. They had conversations this week down here with Tony Clark. He's the executive director of the players union. He sat down with the players and the coaches, and they had a conversation about it. And you guys know what has been talked about: getting rid of the intentional walk, adding a pitch clock, starting a guy on second base in extra innings, and things like that. So lots of conversations have been had. At this point, nothing's been decided. Tony Clark did tell us that the players union has agreed to the intentional walk rule, and that is, you know, just issuing the immediate pass down to first base. However, that's tied to the rest of the conversation, so whether or not that gets implemented when the season begins still remains to be seen. That may or may not start happening in April. At this point, it will not, because it's attached to a couple of other things that they're still working on. So, but as you can imagine, guys, and Ben, I'm sure you have opinions on this, but lots of the players in the clubhouse have strong opinions, including Pat Neshek, who told reporters last week, he said, look, this game's been good for 100 years. Why are we messing with it? I'm glad I'm not going to have to worry about this 5, 6, 7 years from now when they do implement these changes. Most of the players don't like it. They just want the game to be played as is.
What do you think, Ben? I mean, I know that you were back there as a catcher. You know how the pace has changed over the last several years. I mean, there are certain things that you'd like to see different.
I just think they need to put a stopwatch on the hitter and the pitcher. I think that would just drastically speed everything up. I don't like the 4-pitch rule, you know, on the intentional walk. If you put a stopwatch on him, the pitcher doesn't do it, give him a ball. Believe me, he'll start picking that pace up real quickly.
Well, that is one of the thoughts, and as Murph alluded to, you know, that's been thrown out, and they're already doing it in the lower levels of the minor leagues. And Rob Manfred said the other day in a television interview that they feel like that has really worked down in the minor leagues. They said if anybody's gone out and watched some of the games on the lower levels where there has been a clock per se in between pitches, the tempo is definitely faster.
And Tom, you know, Tony Clark also addressed that the other day, and he agrees that at some level that is working. However, some of the players here in the big leagues, many of the players in the big leagues, have never experienced that, and it's very uncomfortable for them. And even some of the guys at the high levels of the minor leagues now who are not dealing with that, when they get to the big leagues, if all of a sudden the rules are changed up here after spending their entire career trying to get here and now having different rules, that is the concern that the players union is trying to kind of balance with the players and with the commissioner's office. And it's a tough one for sure.
And the other problem is a lot of these players, and I was one of them, but I didn't take that much time in between pitches. But a lot of these players are so routine oriented. Can you imagine if Odubel didn't do the bat? You know, if he didn't do that every time in between pitches, you know, how is that going to throw off his approach? But I think the bottom line is that they have to do it. They have to do it.
Yeah, I don't know how much the game has to change. And we all love the game. There's so much great about the game itself. I mean, if they want to tinker with time, as that one is blasted out toward left field, and it's going to be into the Rays bullpen. An opposite field home run for Corey Dickerson. And it's a 5-2 ball game. But I don't know, you know, from a pace standpoint, from an action standpoint, I mean, I guess those are a couple different categories that they're trying to tinker with. I don't know if saving 5 minutes or 6 minutes on average per game is really going to do a whole lot. I mean, it's still a great game. And, you know, there are certain pieces that you can do. Like you talked about it, Ben. I mean, moving it along with the hitters, moving it along with the pitchers. But I'm not sure how much that's going to change the complexion of the game itself. But it is a topic that will no doubt not go away. And will be talked about quite often. They continue to be talked about. You know, we talk about the strike zone. You know, some people say let's shrink the strike zone to then force action a little bit more. Others say let's enlarge the strike zone to then force action. And everybody has a different theory on that. There's a liner out towards center over the head of Odubel Herrera. And Nick Franklin is going to be aboard with his second hit of the day. I think what's going to be interesting about, if there is a change in pace of play or time of game, is that there is a clause where Major League Baseball can make unilateral changes even without the consultation of the Players Association. I don't think they would do that, but there eventually will be a clause where they can do that. There's Diego Moreno, who's warming up in the pen.
You mean kind of like an executive order, so to speak, for Major League Baseball? It'd be tough, though, to get something past the Players Union. We know how strong that is.
Casey Gillespie takes high. 1 ball and no strikes. One thing about Murph's conversation with Tony Clark, and Murph, I don't want to put words in your mouth. I've known Tony for a long time. Pretty sharp guy, isn't he, Murph?
Absolutely. First of all, a terrifically accessible guy and a very, very bright guy, and a terrific advocate, I believe, for the players, and having a voice in that commissioner's office. Tom, you just mentioned about, the commissioner. He actually has the ability at this point to go ahead and make any changes he wants. He can make a rule change if he'd like. However, it's a situation where they're not going to do that without talking to the Players Union and really kind of, hearing what they have to say and hopefully all getting on the same page. They don't all have to be on the same page, but I think at this point Rob Manfred would like to be on the same page if they make any changes.
Right. Well, again, it's going to be a continued conversation, and replay will be part of that too, because let's face it, I think a lot of people think that, I don't want to speak for everybody, but replay has to speed up a little bit. And the thought sometimes is that maybe the umpires don't walk over to the headsets anymore, that they have a conversation with some kind of wireless device where they can speak to the folks in New York about what the replay is and whether it should be overturned. And I think Rob Manfred said this the other day, and they want to be progressive when it comes to technology in baseball. Every sport does. We've seen that with the NFL, although sometimes that's still a little slow. We've seen it with the NBA, which is certainly quicker when it comes to review.
I think you will see that, especially the glaringly obvious ones to take a look at. Where right away, guys, out or safe, fair or foul, right away.
2 balls, 2 strikes to Gillespie. Swing and a miss. So Casey Gillespie is down on strikes. That's 3 strikeouts for Drew Anderson.
Left fielder Jake Bauers.
Jake Bauers now the batter. Bauers is 0 for 2. He's grounded out twice, once to first, once to second. Drew Anderson's gotten tuckered out here in this second inning of work.
Well, he got elevated a couple pitches, and the ball that Dickerson hit was touched, but the ball that Franklin hit, I think Wynn had a lot to do with that one. The great 0-2 pitch.
Swing and a miss. So he goes 2 innings today, and he strikes out 4 batters. He does allow the 2 runs of the 2-run home run. Middle of the 5th, Freddie Galvis. 6-2 lead over the Phillies. As we go to the home 5th inning. And Diego Moreno is the new pitcher for the Tampa Bay Rays as he takes over for Ryan Stanek. See his numbers, 7-1 in the minor leagues with a 4.82 earned run average. Well, during the offseason, baseball was not the only thing in the news. Our own John DeSangro, our associate producer, was inducted into the Temple Ring of Honor before a basketball game at the Leah Coors Center. I mean, look at the 2 names he was added to. I mean, his name is going to be up at the Leah Coors Center for everybody to see. In fact, I was there a few weeks later and I took a picture of it because I'm so proud of John, as we all are. He's one of the best people you'll ever meet. He was the director of basketball operations for John Chaney and his teams for so many years. And we are fortunate to have him as part of our television family on a daily basis.
He's the best. Way to go, Sang.
So we'll have contests for people when they go to the Leah Coors Center where they're going to take photos of themselves with the John DeSangro banner. And maybe we'll give out a T-shirt or something like that. And they can send it to us and we can post it near John's cubicle over at CSN and even in the truck. Check swing. Roman Quinn is retired.
You think Sang had a few cookies at the reception afterwards?
He might have. Nothing wrong with having a few cookies.
He enjoys his cookies.
So Moreno gets the first out. A check swing. Ground ball by Roman Quinn. And now Cesar Hernandez, who is 0 for 2. He is flied out to right twice.
His first at bat left-handed today.
Would you get frustrated at all in spring training when you didn't have a certain amount of at-bats from one side of the plate compared to the other, or did that not matter to you?
No, I would find a way to get my at-bats if I felt I needed them from a certain side.
Over to first. Crisp play by Gillespie. 2 outs here in the 5th. That is actually Dalton Kelly who is playing first base. Casey Gillespie's day is done. Here's Odubel Herrera, who doubled his first time up. He also went down on strikes. 1 for 2. Swing and a miss. Pretty good off-speed pitch. Moreno last year was in the Yankees organization. He had 32 appearances as a relief pitcher. 4 in Double-A and made 28 appearances in Triple-A. Oh, 2.
I'm trying to think how that would work, though. So say you go 10 seconds in between. Is the umpire behind home plate going to have a stopwatch in his hand?
There's going to be a clock out in the outfield.
Huh.
I think anyway. I think that's how they'll do it.
Yeah, because there's no way an umpire is going to want to do that.
No, I think there's going to be a clock. It'll just be reset after every pitch.
Like as soon as it hits the catcher's mitt?
Yep. And it could be 15 seconds. But none of the fiddling around, no kicking the dirt. And I think, the hitter will be kept in line with that also. Broken back ground ball out to second base. And the Phillies go down 1-2-3 here in the 5th inning. We've completed 5 innings here at Spectrum Field, on to the 6th, with the Rays up 5-2. Phillies lead it 5-2. They have 5 runs on 6 hits this afternoon. The Phillies with 2 runs on 5 hits. Maikel Franco has a single, home run, and 2 RBIs. His day is done. Jared Eickhoff went 2 innings, allowed a run in his half of the first inning. The Phillies have made some changes over at first base as Andrew Knapp. We were told he was going to get some time over at first base. J.P. Crawford takes over at shortstop. There's Andrew firing over there. Hector Gomez is around at third base. And Miguel Nunez is the new pitcher for the Phillies. One of their young right-handers up from minor league camp. In fact, we have a new battery. Jorge Alfaro is the new catcher for the Phils.
Catcher, Michael McHenry.
Nunez last year in the minor leagues, 20 saves, an ERA of 3.13. Does he look like a big guy? He is a big fella. He's a little more than 6 feet 6 inches tall, and he can fire.
Looks like he's got a golf ball in his hand.
1 ball, no strikes to Michael McHenry, and a fastball at the knees. And it's 1-1. McHenry here this afternoon is 0 for 2. He is struck out looking, and he's also flied out to left field. Got under that breaking ball just a bit. Ball is hit well out to center field. Altair got a good jump, but it is off the top of the wall, and then he eludes him. And McHenry will stop at second base, and he is there with a leadoff double.
That wind really blowing out, but that ball was touched. It's about halfway up the fence, center field fence. Good short swing there by McHenry. Caught one of the grooves on that fence and scooted away from Aaron. Thank God there was a catcher running.
So runner at second base with nobody out. Nunez in the Arizona Fall League this past year pitched in 9 games. He had 3 saves for the Phillies. That one is a broken bat fly ball to center. Should be a can of corn for Aaron Altair. He is from La Romana, Dominican Republic. As McHenry goes back to second base, he's going to strike guys out. So last year in 51 games, 63 strikeouts. You know, he averaged more than a strikeout per inning pitched.
And bat misser.
Well, the other thing about him too is that because he's so big, he's deceptive, and deceptive at 95, 96, even 97 miles an hour. Patrick Leonard, the hitter. Leonard has flied out and he has struck out. Another one to center field.
Back up third.
Two outs.
It's just inherent in me.
Did you want to yell louder?
I did want to yell a lot louder.
Right fielder, Shane Peterson.
2 times in a row there. Might be a good time for Jorge to go out there and just let him catch his breath. Reaching for the rosin bag. Give himself a few extra seconds.
Peterson has doubled and scored. He's also grounded out to second. Outside, and it's 1-0. One of the bright spots that the Phillies have, over the last couple of years, they've been able to stockpile a lot of prospects, not only from the Latin American countries, but also here in the States. And you have somebody like Nunez with this size, and if he can command it, as he has so far. Pete Buchanan, every manager likes to bring a kid up every once in a while just to get a sort of glimpse at them. One fire right past Alfaro, and Alfaro fires to third, but not in time. And Henry is there.
It's a fastball. He just spikes. How that didn't hit Nick Lentz's shin guard there behind home plate. .309 mile-an-hour pitch. The game has changed. That's how you pull your head off a pitch.
That ball has hit a ton. It's not coming back. In fact, it may be out of the whole yard. It hit off the walkway, then the base of the fence. It's a 2-run explosion. And it's now 7-2. Rays on top. And Peterson has 2 extra base hits here this afternoon.
Whew. Man, that was a big one. Made the pitch before, his head pulled off, everything pulled off. Not on this one. Pitch is elevated and he does not miss it. Man. I haven't seen too many hit out that way.
Bob McClure out to the mound and chatting with Miguel Nunez. Phillies have Sean Burnett warming up in the bullpen. He's been throwing for most of this inning, but the thought would be that he would pitch the 7th inning. There he is. So Verona will bat. And it's 0-1. Off the hands, and Andrew Knapp will make the catch over at first base, and that'll do it for the Rays. They do get a couple runs and a long home run. We've played 5.5. Well, Nunez has that first appearance under his belt. We'll head to the bottom of the 6th. Obstacles women face in sports, both on and off the field. Log on to csnphilly.com/tomboy for aspiring stories like our own Dee Lynham, who talks about growing up in a basketball family and being a woman covering the sport she loves. Well, as we move to the bottom of the 6th inning, vendors are running out of food on what has been a very productive day offensively for the Rays. 7 runs on 8 base hits. Diego Moreno is going to begin his 2nd inning of relief work, and he'll face Howie Kendrick. There are some changes in the back for the Rays defensively, and we'll get to those in a minute. Howie Kendrick is 0 for 2. A couple of ground balls, 1 fielder's choice. That one's down the right field line. On the run is Justin Williams. He took a circuitous route, and he's able to dive and make the catch. Well, it's always good to have a little athleticism.
He played that one into a play of the week. I thought the ball had a chance to get down, but Howie Kendrick, nothing to show for it. That was a good athletic play on his part, though.
All right, so now Michael Saunders. Saunders is 1 for 2. He has singled. He's also grounded out to shortstop. Hector Gomez is due up after Michael Saunders.
Saunders with a couple hard hit balls today. Did make an out on the ball. He hit up the middle, deflected off the pitcher.
Yeah, the shift has cost him here this afternoon.
But the first one he did hit hard. It was straight away second base.
Up and away, 3-0. And ball 4. So he walks him on 4 pitches. And that'll bring Hector Gomez up for the first time. He came on to play for Maikel Franco. Nick Williams will come in to pinch run for Saunders over at first base. So Saunders' day is done.
Now running at first base, number 65, Nick Williams.
Now Gomez, who is making his 4th at bat this spring. There's a line drive over the glove of Jake Hager and into left field. Williams will stop at second base, and the Phils have runners on first and second.
Is that a bullet?
Sure was. That ball was torched.
Short swing. Finish high. And this ball is past the third baseman before he even moves. The rocket.
So now Andrew Knapp. Knapp, as we mentioned the other day, is battling for the backup catcher spot, but also trying to show a little versatility by playing first base. Phillies are going to need a bat off the bench. They're going to need a backup catcher. They may keep 3 catchers, and I think it all depends on who hits during the spring and how they feel like the development of some of the young players, whether it be Knapp or Brock Stassi or Cam Perkins, is evolving over the next month or so.
I had a nice conversation with Charlie Manuel today during batting practice, and he actually thinks that Knapp is a guy that could hit better in the big leagues than he does in the minor leagues.
What is the thought? I mean, give people a reason
just
why that is.
Just because his plate discipline and, you know, yes, pitchers in AAA. Pitchers in AAA, a lot of them have been in the big leagues, but still there's that one pitch just gets away from him. And in the big leagues, that's less apt to happen. So his discipline at home plate and his approach, you know, he said he's going to be a line drive hitter, like a Chase Utley hitter. He goes, you make a mistake, he might take you up top. But the pitchers being more around the plate really helps with his discipline.
Swing and a miss. It's 2 balls and 2 strikes. Last year he had 8 home runs, 46 runs batted in. He followed up a year back in 2015 where he hit .308 with 13 homers, 84 RBIs. Matt Klentak told us when we met with him last week with Pete Mackanin. He said, as far as some of these younger players go, he said, we may have to just send them out there and let's say, all right, let's see what you can do.
Right.
When it comes to major league opportunities. So some of the defensive changes that we've alluded to with the Rays. You see the outfield. Kay, Getzman, and Williams go from left to right. Nick Schufo is the new catcher. I mentioned Hager over at third. Bowers moves from left to short. And Riley Unrose at second. And we mentioned Dalton Kelly over at first base. Here's J.P. Crawford. A lot of eyes on J.P. Crawford this spring, and even at the start of the 2017 season. Bouncer out to second base, and Unrose up with it. No runs, 1 hit, and 2 men left for the Phillies. 6 in the books. We'll head to the 7th inning. Sean Burnett is our next pitcher when we return.
Baltimore Orioles. Game time is
will take place on Saturday, April 8th, when the Phillies take on the Washington Nationals at 7:05, and all fans coming to the ballpark will receive the McDonald's opening night T-shirt. All fans 15 and older, that is, and there's a peek at the T-shirt. You can check out the entire Phillies promotional schedule by heading to Phillies.com. So we go to the top of the 7th inning. Let's check in with Greg Murphy. Murph.
All right, thank you very much. Yeah, here with Phillies right fielder Michael Saunders. And first and foremost, welcome to the organization. You know, it's, you get here as a free agent. You come, you know, you're signing here in January. You get down here and get a chance to meet your teammates. So how's it been so far in terms of getting used to everything?
It's been great. It's been great. I was the day I signed, I was extremely excited. You know, we were in contact from basically November 1st all the way through. I've been telling a lot of people that this organization made me feel wanted. I feel like there's something to say about that, and I'm just excited to play with a new group of guys. They're really young and talented, and you know, I think we're going to play really good baseball this year.
You know, you say it made you feel wanted, but you know, you take a step back and you think about what a perfect fit it really does appear to be. Your bat in the middle of this lineup, left-handed bat, offering protection to a couple of guys in the lineup. It really works on both sides. So as you step into that new role, do you have to do anything different as you get ready for this season?
No, I didn't do anything different. I'm not going to approach anything differently. I feel like it's taken me a long time. I'm still trying to learn. I'm still continually trying to progress and get better. But I really think it's about understanding who you are as a player and what you do well and trying to stick to that and knowing how you can help the team win ball games.
What about a leadership role? There's been a lot of talk about, the new faces, Howie, yourself, and a couple of the other guys, taking over a leadership role in what is a very young clubhouse here in Philadelphia. Something you're comfortable with?
I learned at a really young age. I was blessed to play with some great veterans, Griffey, Mike Sweeney, Adrian Beltre, just to name a few. And the one thing I noticed from them is you lead by example. And for me, I'm the new guy coming in. I feel like it's my responsibility to get to know all these guys. This is their team. They've been around a lot longer than I have. But as far as leadership, I really don't think you change anything. There's some older guys in the clubhouse. If something needs to be said, it'll be said. But other than that, everyone here knows how to play baseball and know how to play it professionally.
Fans get excited this time of the year, and of course when April rolls around they get excited as well, but I can hear it in your voice, the excitement of just getting back to play baseball again. It's there for you.
The day I'm not excited for opening day or spring training, I need to retire. I know that'll be it for me.
All right, Michael, thanks for your time. We appreciate it.
I appreciate you having me.
Guys?
All right, Murph, thank you. Michael Saunders today batting in the number 4 hole, playing right field, was 1 for 2 with that walk. Nick Williams came on the pinch run for him and remains in the game in right field.
There's a lot to be said for what he said about knowing yourself, knowing the player that you are. A lot of players don't know their identity, what they do well.
Outside, and it's 3-2. Does that take a long time to figure that out?
I always thought like I needed to be a power guy, and I think that really made me overswing. It made me get into bad habits because my size. I was a bigger guy, and I didn't hit a lot of home runs, but I'm thinking maybe I should be because of my size. And I think I got into bad habits instead of sticking to what made me get to the big leagues.
Did somebody tell you that you had to be that kind of player?
Not necessarily, but I've had hitting coaches say, I want you to use your legs more. I want you to drive the ball more. And for me, that meant swinging harder, and maybe uppercutting a bit more than I should be. That comes into your size, comes into in hitting home runs. When the pitcher makes that mistake, when you put that same good swing on it, that's when the ball carries out of the ballpark.
This is Riley Unroe, one of the minor leaguers added to today's roster. Unroe last year in AAA had 4 home runs and 31 runs batted in, or I should say single A, 4 home runs and 31 runs batted in. Liner out toward left. That'll drop in for a base hit. And that puts runners on first and second. Against Sean Burnett, who's trying to make the Phillies ball club. He's a 34-year-old left-hander. And the Phillies are in search of getting that situational left-hander out of the bullpen. Not an overwhelming necessity, according to Pete Mackanin, but he would like to have 1 or 2 or maybe even 3 coming out of the pen. Phillies have certainly seen Sean Burnett an awful lot during his career. And he's facing a lefty in Dalton Kelly here. One ball and no strikes. Burnett, we mentioned, has faced the Phillies quite often. He didn't pitch much in 13 or 14. Because he had an elbow injury. But from 2009, 2012, had an ERA of 2.85 and nearly 300 appearances out of the bullpen. And you always used to see him face guys like Ryan Howard, Chase Utley, Jimmy Rollins. Against Howard, Howard was 3 for 13 lifetime against Sean Burnett. And Chase Utley 2 for 12 lifetime against Burnett with a home run. Ground ball to the right side. Valentin makes a fine play, throwing to second for 1. He gets the middle runner. Well, that was a good play on both ends. Crawford at shortstop making the pick. And Valentin moving to his left.
You're right, Tom. This is good all the way around. Getting to it is one thing, but throwing from your haunches like that. Nice play by Crawford to pick him up. It's just great because instead of taking the easy way out, getting the out at first base, what this does, it keeps the double play in check. You get a double play here, you're out of the inning, no damage done.
And now Grant Kay is the batter with runners on first and third. Kay last year in Charlotte hit .242 with 8 home runs and 45 runs batted in. Change up. A little funkiness to Sean Burnett. There always has been when it comes to delivering to the plate. And that, in theory, is supposed to make him effective against left-handed hitters.
It's just not easy to pick up because he steps so far across his body before he delivers the pitch. See how he just really strides to his left and then really throws around that front foot. You can see how that would put strain on your arm.
Some of the other bullpen additions the Phillies have picked up. Joaquin Benoit, who could be used as a 7th, 8th, or even a 9th inning guy, 51 career saves, and Pat Neshek, an ERA of 2.93 during his major league career. Somewhat deceptive from the right side. High chopper out towards shortstop. Crawford to second for one. Quickly to first, and it's in time. A quick release all the way around. 6-4-3. And just as you mentioned, you get the middle runner. You make sure you get the out. That sets up a double play. Yasmiel Valentin and J.P. Crawford, as if they've done this a million times during their professional careers. Phillies take on the Washington Nationals. It's Cavity Busters Kids opening day. The Phillies hooded sweatshirt free to fans 14 and under. Get your tickets now by going to Phillies.com. Do the chicken dance here at Spectrum Field as we move to the bottom of the 7th inning. They just finished Take Me Out to the Ball game. Jorge Alfaro will lead things off. The new lefty out of the bullpen is Jose Alvarado from Venezuela.
Nice play.
So he will take over facing Alfaro, and then Roman Quinn is scheduled to bat one more time. And then the top of the order, Phillies yesterday, we mentioned they had defeated the Toronto Blue Jays. They had 10 runs on 13 hits. And today they have 2 runs on 6 base hits. I was talking to Matt today about that. I said, we got to be happy yesterday. He said, well, I was happy. He said, but I would have preferred less strikeouts because they struck out 15 times. And a little better approach with runners in scoring position. So they were 4 of 20 with runners in scoring position. But they still won the game, 10-3. But he said that they could have scored even more runs, and he doesn't want anybody to get into a habit of not, as Pete told us, not finishing off the game with those solid at bats. You have 2 hits, get 3. If you have 1 hit, get 2.
As Matt said, I'm going to stress situational hitting with this bunch as much as I possibly can. He was screaming out orders today. Man on second, nobody out. Second and third, 1 out. In between pitches of batting practice today.
Here's Alfaro.
Tommy Joseph was really into it. He said, all right, what situation now? And all Tommy did was hit home run after home run. I said, well, that's good in any situation.
It really is.
It was a display.
Alvarado at 97 miles an hour. Two and 1. Out toward the middle, moving to his left is Bowers, who sweeps the throw across the diamond in time. And one away. Time now for our Phillies offense Toyota report. I mentioned the Phillies yesterday defeated the Toronto Blue Jays 10-3. They're 2-1. They've averaged almost 7 runs per game. You think they can keep that up? I know today might be an aberration with only 2. 7 home runs already. That counts today with Maikel Franco.
It's going to be hard to sustain, Tom.
Roman Quinn is 0 for 2, and he takes a strike. Phillies have Colton Murray warming up in the bullpen, so it looks like he'll be the next one in the game. Alvarado needs to talk to his catcher about the signs. Alvarado started as began his career as a starting pitcher. When you look at 97-98 from the left side, you might figure you can bottle that a little bit and use him toward the back end of a game. Pretty good movement, 0-2.
And that's all you're going to need with a power arm like that. You just need 2 pitches.
Again, movement, and Roman Quinn is down on strikes for the second out. Wow.
Second baseman,
went back to it. Breaking ball in the dirt. Catcher wants in the dirt. Where he throws it. And that's just tough because you have to respect that 97 that he's throwing. You think I got to get it started a little sooner. Next thing you know, you're not picking up rotation. Ball's in the dirt.
Here's Yasmiel Valentin, who had 276 last year in Double-A Reading. Phillies acquired Valentin, who was a former first-round pick by the Dodgers. acquired him from Los Angeles a couple of years ago. Not a bad pickup at all.
No. I have to ask him if he remembers when I was trying to get into the ball game in Chicago, and I'm looking for my gear everywhere. Ozzie Gaines, get in there. I said, I can't find my gear. He's in the batting cage with all of it on.
2 balls and 1 strike. Well, based on your reputation of forgetting your shirt and your wallet today, you may have forgotten that you allowed him to use it. Poor kid.
Straight panic mode.
Outside, 3-1. He is part of a handful of Phillies middle infield prospects. Obviously, you include J.P. Crawford in that mix, along with Scott Kingery and Valentine. And the hope is that they will continue to blossom after another year or 2 in the minor leagues, because they have a lot of potential. That's going to hurt. Ball coming in at 97 miles an hour and then flying off the bat.
You might want to think about putting those extra toe flaps on.
You don't miss those kind of plays, Tommy.
Oh, that went off his left kneecap.
Yeah, so he was down in with 1 knee down. And went right off the top of it.
Extra toe flap's not going to help there.
Well, maybe it would make him feel a little more confident that more of his body is covered. He may be a little cranky tonight. Three balls and 2 strikes.
Exact reason I never liked getting down into putting 1 knee on the ground. Never liked it.
Back toward the middle, and waiting for it is Unruh. Phillies go down 1-2-3 here in the 7th inning. Fairly easy inning for Alvarado. We played 7 on to the 8th. The next throwing somebody out. For a clash with the Western Conference's Colorado Avalanche. Flyers versus Avalanche. Coverage begins tomorrow night at 6:30 over on CSN. Well, Ben Davis and Greg Murphy, I'm Tom McCarthy. We move to the top of the 8th inning, and Colton Murray will take over with the Phillies down 7-2.
Issue changes for the Phillies. Now playing left field number 85, Andrew Pullen. Now pitching number 60, Colton Murray. Batting for the Rays.
Andrew Pullen takes over in left field for the Phils. So Colton Murray warming up out on the mound. Colton last year 24 games, 1-1, a 6.25 earned run average. And Shufo, who had that foul ball off his leg, looks like he's okay because he's going to bat here in the top half of the 8th inning.
Come all this way not to hit. Care how badly it hurts.
These are big innings for a guy like Colton Murray, not only to get ready for the season, but also to try to battle for a spot in the Phillies bullpen. We kind of laid it out the other day about the Phillies bullpen, where I don't think you can ever say anything is set, but you have a pretty good idea of who is in what spot, at least the first 4 or 5 pitchers. With Genmar Gomez as the closer, and then Hector Neris and Joaquin Benoit and Pat Neshek being the guys that will help get the game to Gomez. Edubray Ramos is there as well. 1 ball and no strikes. So Luis Garcia earlier today. Garcia won an inning, allowed 2 runs on 2 hits. But even if they don't make the team out of spring training, these guys are still trying to find their way by going to the minor leagues again and then coming back up once there's a need. Liner out toward right, and it'll drop in front of Nick Williams.
Change up there by Colton Murray, a pitch that we haven't seen him throw a ton of. He's been basically fastball, big curveball.
Well, the ERA by relievers, the high was the Rockies at 5.13. Now the Phillies had the 3rd highest at 5.05. We'll talk about that changeup and why that's so important, because he does, I mean, he has a good curveball and he's got a lively fastball. But talk about why the change is so important.
The change for him is important because sometimes he doesn't have a good feel for that curveball. And the changeup is a pitch that might be able to get him back in counts, get guys out in front. But if he leaves it elevated like that last one, you know, it's going to get hit. So he's got to be down in the zone. So the curveball is such a feel pitch for Colton. Sometimes it's spot on and it's nasty, but sometimes he'll roll it up there or spike it. It's just more of a feel pitch. But a changeup, if he gets a better feel for that, he can use that on a daily basis.
Swing and a miss. Had a 92-mile-an-hour heater.
So you take a look here where this ball ends up. I mean, that's just middle of the plate and elevated. You expect big league hitters to hit that.
By the way, Andrew Velasquez is wearing the same number as Jake Bauers. So we had mentioned that Bauers was still in the game. We have been told now that Bauers has left the building, and Velasquez is in wearing number 70. So welcome to the game, Andrew Velasquez. One ball, 2 strikes. Back toward the middle, not hit that hard. And Valentin has to hurry and won't get anybody. That ball just spun right up at him.
That's a bad hop there. You just can't anticipate a bad hop, but Dirt's a little chewed up there here in the 8th inning. That's how this ball just kicks up on him.
Yeah, and Conrad ran right in front of him, so there was no chance to get him. So runners on first and second, and now Jake Hager will bat. Outside, 1 ball and no strikes. Hager had 2 home runs, 21 RBIs in AAA last year. Back to the screen. And now 2-1. Hager is a former first-round pick for the Rays back in 2011. Highest total home runs that he's hit during his professional career is 10. He had 10 home runs, 72 runs batted in back in 2012. One ball, 1 strike to him. Way outside. Colton Murray's fallen behind here.
Good play by Alfaro there.
Line drive, hot shot, diving play, Valentine, and then he dropped the ball, so everybody will be safe. Well, that would have been a double play ball, and it looked like it may have spun right off the hand of Yasmiel Valentine. So the bases are now loaded here in the 8th inning.
Heck of an effort just to get to this. This ball was scolded. He gets to it, unfortunately cannot make the transition to J.P. Crawford at shortstop, and then on the first with the double play. But a nice effort just to get to it nonetheless.
All right, so that means bases loaded now for Colton Murray, and Justin Williams will be the hitter. Phillies down 7-2. This is adding to a little bit of the pitch count for Colton Murray. Justin Williams had 10 home runs combined last year in the minor leagues. Hit .330 in Charlotte in the Florida State League. Quickly behind, no balls and 2 strikes. Good high fastball, 1 away.
Double play and get out of this. Climbs the ladder.
Center fielder Brandon Getzman.
It's an awful big swing by Williams. 0-2.
Well, that'll bring Brandon Getzman to the plate. And Getzman hits one that's flagged down by Gomez, who comes to the plate for the out. What a play. Excellent defensive play by Hector Gomez. 2 outs here in the 8th inning.
Needed every inch of that vertical and that glove to snare this one. Go up and get it. One thing to make the play, but have the awareness to go home with that ball. I'm thinking he's just going to fire across the diamond and get it out.
I thought the same thing.
It's a good play.
Hey, you heard somebody say get up. I don't know if they anticipated he'd be able to get up that high. And Jonah Heim will now be the hitter with 2 outs here in the 8th inning as Murray's trying to get out of this jam. It has not been his fault. Fastball 0-1. Oh, and 2. Jonah Heim, one of the 4 catchers the Rays brought with them for this ball game. Cole's come into camp this year a little trimmed down. He's got some pretty good life on his fastball in these first couple of outings.
He, like a lot of other pitchers, getting problems and trouble when they start to overthrow.
Watch Bob McClure and Pete McCann. They've really established a very good relationship, manager pitching coach relationship over the last couple of years.
As much baseball as those 3 have seen, the passion they still have for the game is just amazing.
Fastball and a call. Strike 3. Way to battle back for Colton Murray. He got an excellent defensive play by Hector Gomez after his defense kind of hurt him to start the inning. We'll move to the bottom of the 8th.
Fans, for your safety, we have a working agreement with United Taxis, our official taxi company.
Citizens Bank Park beginning Friday, April 7th at 3:05. It's Nemours opening day. And don't forget, Saturday the 8th is McDonald's opening night. All fans 14 and older will receive the McDonald's opening night T-shirt. Tickets can be purchased by going to Phillies.com. Phillies trail at 7-2 as we go to the bottom of the 8th inning. Hey, Hector Gomez getting some congratulations after coming in, and rightfully so. Look at Jorge Alfaro talking about how he was able to make that play. Colton Murray said something to him.
It was an excellent play. What I liked was how Colton Murray went and found Valentine and said, hey, I'll take care of you. I'll pick you up. A couple miscues that inning, but Colton Murray able to get out of it.
Michael Marhama has taken over behind the plate. Jeff Walters is the new pitcher. Walters, who last year had 56 appearances for the Mets organization in AAA, was 4-3 with an ERA of 5.89. Facing Aaron Altair, and Altair takes outside. 1 ball and no strikes. Down the right field line, out of play. Walters went to the University of Georgia, and he is one of many players who has come back from Tommy John surgery back in 2013. And I think this is hard to do. I don't know anybody who's watched minor league baseball over the years. You played minor league baseball. I think it is hard to teach somebody to be a closer, but he had 38 saves in one season in the minor leagues. To me, that's a lot of saves for a young pitcher. Sometimes you got some veteran guys that go back down and, they'll close out games at the knees, and it's 2-2.
It is a lot of saves.
A lot of saves.
Getting the job done.
Chris Coghlan has come out of the on-deck circle, be one of the pinch hitters for the Phils. 2 balls, 2 strikes to Altair. Broken bat. And 1 gone here in the 8th inning. Pedro Beato is warming up in the bullpen for the Phils. You want to be a bench player on a major league team? Now, if you're a former rookie of the year like Chris Coghlan is, that's sort of helpful when it comes to your resume. But learn how to play all 3 positions, and that will give you. It might give you a leg up on everybody else. Coghlan last year was with the A's and the Cubs. Did not really work out for him with the A's. But those are his career numbers, a .260 hitter. And we mentioned with the Marlins, when he was a rookie with the Marlins, he was a pain in the neck. Two balls and no strikes.
Really had a resurgence last year after getting picked up by the Cubs, and you get on that ball club, seems like everybody on that club would make you better.
He golfed that one out toward right field, and Williams going back toward the track to put it away. That was toward the end of the bat. And there are 2 outs. And Nick Williams is coming up. Williams came out as a pinch runner. That's how he entered the game back in the 6th inning. Down and away, 1 ball, no strikes. Pretty good play defensively And then Walters there to cover, and the side is retired. 3-1 on the putout. Phils offensively have gone down 8 in a row. We'll head to the ninth. March 15th for the Phillies Wall of Fame for 2017. This is the ballot. So you can go to Phillies.com and check out who you would like to be the next participant on the Phillies Wall of Fame. And there are some impressive names on that list. Guys who have had a great influence on the history of the Philadelphia Phillies. This year, Pete Rose was added. So was Placido Polanco. And it joins the likes Jim Fregosi, Larry Christensen. Christensen, what, 86 games as a member of the Philadelphia Phillies. Or I should say 83 games as a member of the Philadelphia Phillies. 11 home runs as a pitcher. Bedrock. Guy could close out some ball games. Manny Trio. There's a lot of guys that little kids emulate when they're out taking some ground balls on the playing field. And Manny Trio, everybody tried to emulate that little flip. Scott Rowland had a very nice career with the Phillies. Went on to have an even better career with the Cardinals and the Reds. But voting ends 5 p.m. on March 15th. Go to Phillies.com to cast your vote for this year's recipient for the Phillies Wall of Fame. Pedro Beato will be the new pitcher for the Phils. And he will face Riley Unruh. It was Beato last year in AAA. 2.65 ERA. Has seen some time in the big leagues with the Mets, with the Orioles, with the Braves. Off the end of the bat. 0-2. Phillies after today will be back here again tomorrow against the Baltimore Orioles. As we will get another glimpse at the American League East. We've seen the Yankees a couple times, the Blue Jays yesterday, the Rays today, the Orioles tomorrow. Phillies will be down in Charlotte, Port Charlotte on the 1st. And then the 2nd they'll be in Dunedin. Tomorrow will be on at 1 o'clock on TCN. Be our first chance to see Clay Buchholz in a Phillies uniform. Mike Wright will start for the Orioles. One ball, 2 strikes. Hmm. 2-2. Phillies have pretty much the first 5 days, aside from Adam Morgan's start on Saturday. But if you move past Adam, yesterday was Hellickson. Today it's Jared Eickhoff, or was Jared Eickhoff. Tomorrow it's Clay Buchholz. Then it's Vince Velasquez and Aaron Nola. And Bob McClure said that's probably a little bit of a hint on how they're going to start the season with the Phillies rotation. And Nola's fine. He's healthy. Thought as though, maybe you give him a couple of extra days as he comes back from the elbow issue as the season begins.
And they have that opportunity because of all the scheduled off days.
Correct.
Aaron Nola, I tell you right now, is not going to want that by any means.
Here's Dalton Kelly. 0-1. Kelly had a fielder's choice his last time up, and he's 0 for 1. Off the end of the bat, over toward the Phillies dugout and out of play. If you think about the Phillies rotation, if it is, as we mentioned, that order, and then you think about the guys that are behind them that will be potentially the starters in AAA, it's a dynamic rotation.
Pretty good.
Saw Zach Eflin today. Zach looks great as he comes back from the 2 knee surgeries. He's trimmer, which he didn't really need to be any trimmer, but he tightened himself up a little bit physically.
Does it look like those 5 are going to be your 5? Yes, but nothing is set in stone.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it depends, on health. I mean, health is one of the most important things, and sometimes if guys struggle a little bit, that may not be the biggest issue, but health is the biggest thing. You got Eflin, you've got Ben Lively, you've got Nick Pivetta, Mark Appel, who we saw the other day. Saw Drew Anderson today. Fly ball down the left field line. Poulin, late start. Crawford out as well, but Poulin is there. And Andrew Poulin makes the catch. And there are 2 outs. By the way, Crawford was moving.
He was.
Shortstop.
And JP could have caught that ball if Poulin doesn't get a good jump on it. JP would have been there.
Grant Kay is now the hitter. The ball sweeps outside. Foul ball off Alfaro, 1-2. Phillies have one last chance against, it looks like Hunter Wood, who is warming up. He is scheduled to pitch. He's on the list of pitchers for the Rays. Another foul ball. And a strike 3 called. A clean inning for Pedro Beato. He picks up 2 strikeouts along the way. Nothing across for the Rays. Last chance for the Phils. And for a peek at the Osprey. Well, not the last chance this spring, but the last chance today. Sixth inning for the Tampa Bay Rays. And in the 5th, our W.B. Mason delivery of the game. And this is Corey Dickerson.
Backdoor breaking ball of Drew Anderson. Corey Dickerson does not miss it. Ball's crushed out to left field. 2-run homer. That is your W.B. Mason delivery of the game.
Yeah, the Rays had another home run in the 6th inning, which tacked on a couple more. That was Shane Peterson. So now they're trying to close it out, and they will send Hunter Wood out to the mound. Last year, 9-5 in 18 starts, a 2.39 ERA. Sometimes you look at that win-loss record, you say, okay, that's really good. But you look at the ERA for some of these minor league guys, and that tells a lot of the story.
That's the first thing I look at when it comes to a pitcher, the ERA.
Facing Hector Gomez. Hunter Wood pitched on 2 levels in single A. Or 1 level in single A, 1 level on double A last year. He's out of Arizona. 6'1", 165 pounds. Look at a guy that's slightly built and wonder how he can throw the way he throws. And it's no balls, 1 strike to Gomez.
Yeah, there's not much to him.
Andrew Knapp waits on deck. Curveball. Line drive over the glove of a leaping Dalton Kelly, and Gomez is aboard.
Gomez really had himself a nice day. Coming in for Maikel Franco, gets a couple knocks. Nice defensive play at third base. Preserving a scoreless inning for Colton Murray.
Hot shot, Knapp, and it's flagged down by Dalton Kelly, and they get one, and then the throw goes into the dugout, so Knapp will go over to second base. So 3-6 on the put out at second base.
Oh, smoked.
It sure was.
Heck of a play by Kelly over first base, though. Knapp turning on that fastball. Kelly getting to his feet, delivering a strike. I don't think that really needs to be thrown. If you're the shortstop there.
He was firing it.
Yeah, why not?
So now J.P. Crawford is up. Crawford up for the second time, hitting a $143 here this spring. Way outside, 1 ball, no strikes. Marhama keeps it around the plate.
Where you're begging for a strike. JP, don't walk me. I don't want to walk on 4 pitches in spring training. All right, now we can go. You can get your hacks in.
Ball's pulled foul. And it bounces off a couple seats, and it's 3-2. Get a chance to see Jorge Alfaro, who's up next for the Phillies, with 1 man down here in the bottom of the 9th inning. Here's Jorge. And there's ball 4. Came in a little tight, and that puts runners on 1st and 2nd for Alfaro.
Catcher Jorge Alfaro.
Our thoughts on Alfaro power-wise are kind of similar as they were last year. Just the power to the opposite way. Watching Matt today in the cage, Matt was excited to see as Jorge was driving the ball with the count 2-0 or 3-1 into the gap in left center field instead of trying to drive it to right center field, but drive it to left center field.
Yeah, and that's one thing, another thing that Charlie was talking about. He said he's very content with hitting the ball to right field. He said, but at some point, you got to get after it and turn on some pitches, drive him out to the left.
All right, so when a guy is content, because Charlie said the same thing to me, when the guy's content to go to right field, and he's got the power that Alfaro has, why doesn't he try to pull the ball in a hitter's count?
Well, he's had success his whole life hitting the ball to right field, and that's his natural stroke. But at some point, if you get a pitch that's in, you're going to have to turn on it because pitchers start just pounding the inside. Pitchers that can repeat their delivery and repeat their placement of their pitches, they're just going to start pounding them in. If you're not starting to clear your hips a little bit sooner, get that bad head out there, you're just going to get, the pitcher's going to live inside on you.
And he has the ability to turn and go. Do you run the risk of changing it too much?
No, just as long as you don't get away from that path. It's going to be the same path. You're just going to catch it out in front.
1 ball, 2 strikes. By the way, it is always good to see Charlie. He's in that same spot in the dugout all the time. There's big old Chuck. Curveball and a high strike 3 call. Well, I guess that's a hanger to a certain extent.
And Jorge thought it was up. Take a look here. It's a big one.
I guess it does. I mean, it's over the plate. That's a strike.
It's just too close to take, regardless. Yeah. Regardless.
And now Andrew Poulin.
Jeez.
That is a mile in the air. Kelly says he's got it, and the ball game is over. So the Rays take this game this afternoon 7-2 as they hit a couple of home runs. And they use a lot of their young kids to beat the Phils here at Spectrum Field. 7 runs, 10 hits, 1 error for the Rays. 7-2 for the Phils. We'll take a break and wrap things up when we return from Spectrum Field.